Welcome to the Raleigh Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, December 4th, 2017 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Main Street, Raleigh, Mass. I call the meeting to order. This meeting is being video and audio recorded and televised live on Raleigh Community Media. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on the agenda for tonight, we're going to aim for public comment between 7:05 and 7:10. We have 7:15, we have an appointment, a public hearing, and then we have general business, old business, new business, liquor license renewals, and we have minutes from November 20th and November 29th. And then we'll have announcements. And we'll have an executive session also. Okay, so we can go into general business. General business number one. We have a review road opening permits from National Grid from the following: to open 139 Benno Drive to install new gas service. The road opening permit was signed off by the staff on location listed above. Any questions?
No.
Thank you. General business number two, Thomas Hills, 117 Blueberry Lane, South Hamilton, Mass. Dated 11/22/2017, Raleigh Police Department, 477 Haverhill Street, Raleigh, Mass. Attention, Chief Dumas. Regarding retirement. Dear Chief Dumas, please accept this letter as notification of my intent to retire from my position as patrolman with the Raleigh Police Department effective December 27th, 2017. I have genuinely enjoyed working with you, and I am grateful for the professional opportunities given to me by the town of Raleigh. Sincerely, Thomas Hills.
Give you a motion, Mr. Chairman, with a letter of regrets, and thank you for your service.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to send the letter with regret.
Mr. Chairman, is there a difference between resignation and retirement?
I believe he's retiring, but either
Says
way,
retire.
Yeah, he's intent to retire.
it's his resignation on the
Oh,
agenda.
yeah.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have a letter from the Police Department, General Business Number 3, Town of Raleigh, Board of Selectmen, November 22nd, 2017, regarding the hiring freeze. Dear Board, due to the retirement of Officer Tom Hills, I am requesting the Board of Selectmen lift the hiring freeze so I may fill the position of a full-time officer. Respectfully, Scott A. Dumas, Chief of Police.
Give you a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to lift the hiring freeze. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I think we can squeeze in one more. General business number 4, request to approve former pay rate for rehired library technician Anna McGrath. Debbie recommends that we rehire Ann McGrath at her former rate of pay, step 4, grade 3, at $15.64 per hour from when she resigned in March of 2017. The library director considers her to be a valuable asset to the library, given her knowledge from her many years of service.
Give you a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded to rehire Ann McGrath at her former rate of pay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that takes care of new business. We have public comment is now open for the next 5 minutes. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Yeah, I just wanted to report to you that some of We the People's supporters' signs being spray painted. And I'm sure you consider that pretty serious because, you know, business is important in this town, and hopefully it doesn't go much further. The other thing is that I wanted to report to you too that We the People's been very successful in getting most of the towns and cities within the 10-mile radius of the plant to send their letters to the NRC. And there's only 2 left, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to get those too. So I hope, you know, one of these days you're going to reconsider the right to have the selectmen write their letter to the NRC too. But obviously that's up to you. Right?
That all you?
Well, I noticed that the you don't have citizens query anymore. Was there a policy change or?
Yes,
There is. Is the policy available to the public? Why it changed?
it was by vote of the board.
Yeah. Well, that, you know, I guess you don't answer questions anymore, but, you know, is there a policy so the public can be aware of why it was changed?
In the minutes of the meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Well, and there's a written policy which I would think you could get.
Pardon?
There's a written policy which you can get a copy of. I think it's
Well, it
primarily.
is a policy, right?
It was primarily a change in terminology rather than anything of
I was
substance.
just wondering,
Yeah.
you know, why, because I know some other people on it too. Oh, all right, that's great. I'll study that. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman who just spoke did not state his name for the record.
Say that
For the
again.
public record, could you state your name, please?
My name is Stephen Conley Senior. I reside in 45 Mansion Drive,
Thank you.
Raleigh.
Just so that's on the video recording.
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you
No
very
problem.
much. Okay, moving on. We can get into old business. We have an update on the Raleigh Veterans Association liquor license application. The Raleigh Veterans Association liquor license application for a change of manager and a change of beneficial ownership was returned by the ABCC with no action because the articles of organization submitted by the RVA were not current. We have been in contact with the RVA regarding the ABC's notice, and the RVA has provided us with an updated documents which we mailed to the ABCC. During this time, we can still process the 2018 renewal for the RVA under the sole ABCC approved officer, Stephen Morris. That will be coming up later on in the meeting. Update on number 2, old business, update on the Pine Grove School project. The project is moving forward. We're working on the Conservation Commission, with the Conservation Commission on the stormwater permit application. Raleigh Community Media Director Janet Morrissey will be providing input to the renovation of the all-purpose room with respect to the location for the cameras and related equipment. The building committee has a meeting scheduled for Thursday, December 14th. Chair Murray will provide further updates. I believe what the architect has designed is that we're going to have a couple of cameras that will be wired in at the all-purpose room, and that we won't have wires on the floor or the tripod cameras, so that we won't have to worry about that in the all-purpose room. And the stage is going to be revamped so that it'll be a little bit more accessible, and we won't see anybody having to negotiate the stairs going up and down into the stage area. But we'll see how the changes work out.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
the time.
yes, thank you. Citizens' query is over. Okay. Old business number 3, an update on the fire station and police station addition project. The Public Safety Building Committee voted during a meeting this morning to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to award the contract to Castagna Construction Corporation of Newburyport, Mass. In the amount of $8,186,000, which includes the 3 alternates, radiant floors in the fire station, lightning protection system, and portico at the police station. Chairman Perry will read the letter Neil Joyce of Construction Monitoring Services into the record. Letter is attached. Police Fire Station Building Committee, care of Town of Raleigh, 139 Main Street, Raleigh, Mass. Attention Debbie Egan, Town Administrator, regarding Raleigh Police Fire Headquarters recommendation of awards. Dear Miss Egan, as authorized by the Town of Raleigh, CMS has completed our review of the contractor files made available at DCAMM, Department of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance, for the Castagna Construction Company, as well as for the next 2 lowest bidders. Castagna's file presents the firm as financially stable with multiple public safety projects, both completed work and work in progress, to their credit, as well as multiple other public projects of similar size and complexity. Castagna maintains current DCAMM certification in general building construction, with single project and aggregate work limits exceeding those required for the Raleigh Police/Fire Headquarters project. Castagna's public safety projects include completion of the Salisbury Police Station in 2016, Duxbury Police Station in 2013, and Arlington Fire Station 2011, all of which were completed with passing evaluations from each project's awarding authority. Castagna's current work in progress includes Littleton Fire Headquarters and Westward Fire Headquarters. It is further noted that Castagna has worked with the Corral Group on 2 of the above noted projects, successfully completing the Duxbury Police Headquarters and currently working towards completion of the Littleton Fire Headquarters. The Corral Group indicates satisfactory performance on both projects from Castagna Construction. CMS reviewed the bid and accompanying documents and have determined Castagna's bid to be responsive to the requirements of the request for bids included in the project specifications. References contacted from Castagna's past Salisbury and current Westford projects have indicated satisfactory performance and the willingness to work with Castagna on future projects. In conclusion, this letter should serve as confirmation of our recommendation to award the contract for general contractor services in conjunction with the Raleigh Police/Fire Headquarters project to Castagna Construction, Newburyport, Mass. Should you have any additional questions in this matter, please contact our office. Sincerely, Construction Monitoring Services, Neil Joyce, Senior Project Manager.
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve award the general contract to Castagna.
I'll second
Construction
that.
of Newburyport, Mass. And to direct the town administrator to provide notice to contractor of the award to the contractor.
And I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to award the construction for the police fire station to Castagna Construction. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're anticipating having, we will send the contract to Castagna, they'll sign it, and then we'll have it back next Monday night for the town to sign. Construction Monitoring Services, CMS, also conducted a solicitation of construction testing services. Neil Joyce is recommending the town contract with UTS of Massachusetts, Inc. of Stoneham, Mass., the lowest price at $17,805. The Public Safety Building Committee voted to recommend that the Board of Selectmen vote to award the construction testing services contract with UTS. If the board is in agreement, Chairman Perry will call for a motion to award the construction testing services contract to UTS in the amount of $17,805.
I'll give you the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to award the construction testing services contract to UTS. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The police department personnel has moved out of the trailers. And personnel are working out of the original police station building. The trailers are due to be taken away on Wednesday.
Very good.
We are moving forward. Okay, I'll save number 4. Till after. Keep my folders in order. We have a 7:15 appointment, public hearing on Verizon New England, Inc.'s cable television renewal license. Chairman Perry will read the notice of hearing into the record. Notice of hearing. The Board of Selectmen of the Town of Raleigh, Massachusetts will conduct a hearing on Monday, December 4th, 2017, at 7:15 p.m. at the Raleigh Town Hall, 139 Main Street, Raleigh, Mass. 01969, to consider whether and on what terms to grant a cable television renewal license to Verizon New England, Inc. pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 166A and 207 CMR 3.00 at sequence. Any applications, reports, statements, and amendments to be considered at the hearing that constitute public records under state law are available for public inspection during regular business hours and for reproduction at a reasonable fee at the office of said selectman.
Mr. Chairman, just to state for the record that on Friday, I filed with the town clerk a 23B stating that I was an employee of Verizon. I've been retired for over 9 years, and I only financial obligation that the company, I receive Medicare Part D. That's it. But they were obligated to give me medical coverage when I retired. So I have no tie, and I will partake in the hearing.
Thank you. I'll call for a motion to open the public hearing on the Verizon New England, Inc.'s cable television renewal license.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to open the public hearing on the renewal license. All those in favor say by roll call. Yep.
It's not necessary, but you can if
Okay.
you'd like to.
Robert Murray. Aye, Robert Murray.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Perry.
I, Robert Snow.
Hi, Dave Peters.
Chairman Perry will call Town Council Tom Mullen forward to summarize the proposed cable television renewal license. Attorney Mullen will provide a summary and go over the process. Attorney Harrington from Verizon will also be attending. Tom?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members. It's a pleasure to be back before you. To my left is my friend, John Harrington, who is an attorney representing Verizon. And after I briefly set the table, I think you'd like to hear from Mr. Harrington, and then the purpose of this hearing is chiefly to hear from any residents who may want to have their 2 cents about the renewal license. As you know, Verizon was granted a 10-year initial license 10 years ago, and that license expires on December 16th of this year. It's a different world than it was a decade ago. When cable licensees started coming into Massachusetts towns, they were anxious to sign up as many subscribers in as many towns as possible. Now they are nervous because Technology is changing fast. Consumers, especially the young, are cutting the cord. Nobody knows what the cable industry will look like or if there will be one in a few years. As a couple of years ago, or maybe a few months ago, Verizon was trying to renew licenses with towns with a termination on demand provision, which would give the towns virtually no security. Towns, on the other hand, want to lock in benefits for as long as possible in this environment. The agreement that is before you tonight, that has been proposed by Verizon and blessed by me, is a compromise, and it's the best compromise that municipalities are now getting from Verizon. It's a 5-year term. Let me speak briefly about a couple of financial matters. In any cable TV license agreement, there are two sources of funds that are given by the company to the town, generally for purposes of public, educational, and governmental TV, called PEG, P-E-G. One is a franchise fee that is paid based on the number of subscribers or the number of dollars of gross revenue received by the company. And the other is an outright PEG grant. That is a grant per year, or however it's structured, for the purpose of supporting PEG equipment. The important thing to remember about this, because it's tempting to think that we're doing well if we get a bigger franchise fee or a bigger PEG grant, is it's a pass-through on the bill. Meaning every dollar we negotiate in our agreement as a PEG grant or a franchise fee ends up on the bill that the subscribers get. That doesn't mean, of course, that we should have none, because it's important for our community to support PEG broadcasting. But we should bear in mind where the money's coming from. And in this case, the franchise fee in the initial license was 5%, but with a provision that if any other provider came in and got a lower franchise fee, then Verizon's fee would be reduced to that amount. Comcast in 2009 came in with a 4% franchise fee, and since 2009, accordingly, Verizon has had a 4% franchise fee. For the sake of continuity, this agreement also contemplates a 4% franchise fee, and I would recommend it for that reason only. The PEG grant was initially $85,000 in total. Spread out over 10 years, that's $8,500 per year. This is a 5-year contract, and we're recommending a $42,500 PEG grant, which would again work out to $8,500 per year. And we've met with Janet, who has come up with a good wish list of items for Rowley Community Media, which would justify that PEG grant. And finally, Verizon is offering us a high-definition channel for PEG purposes. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if you like, but I think it's important that you hear from Attorney Harrington, too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to be present this evening. Tom accurately described the process. The company, the way I draw an analogy is it's somewhat like a taxi cab medallion that had a great value at one point until Uber came in, and those values went down precipitously. That's kind of what's happening in the cable TV industry. Cord cutters, video services that are coming over the internet that don't require a cable franchise are all competing with cable TV. So that dictated the changes, and there were considerations by my client as to whether or not they want to continue in the business. They made a wish list and conditions that were presented initially that were very aggressive,
there was a lot of pushback. I think the compromise before you is fair. It kind of shares the risk going forward. We have, in my opinion, we have two outstanding issues to close the gap on, and that is just the method of payment of the PEG grant, and I'm sure we'll get there. It's not on the amount, it's just how it will be calculated. And there was an outstanding issue with respect to the possible move of the studio, where we had a call last week with our architecture engineering, who made a suggestion that I think is going to be the solution for that issue. So the negotiations are going very well. I think we'll bring this to a close in short order, and we want to continue to provide the service.
Do you really think it's gonna change that fast and that the lifespan?
Part of the problem is the unknown.
It really, yeah.
It
it's-
really is.
I understand that. I'm just asking you to make your best guess, but
Yeah.
wow, that's,
I'm a consumer like everybody else in this room, so I don't know myself.
right. Okay.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, I should have mentioned before is what we're doing here and why. The reason for the hearing is state law requires that in advance of any renewal license grant, there be a public hearing so that the public can ask questions and and make comments. The other point I wanted to make is that because we're not ready to sign an agreement tonight, Verizon has agreed to give us a letter extending their commitment and our agreement until we are ready to sign, provided that the parties continue to negotiate in good faith. And this is very common, incidentally. I represent Linfield. Linfield has the same issue and resolved it with the same mechanism. Many communities are on an extension letter.
Very good.
Question, Mr. Chairman. So are we anticipating that in some date in the future that Verizon will, and I assume Comcast both, will give up the cable business? Is that what we're looking at? Maybe Janet can, without putting you on the spot, can kind of give us an indication.
Again, that's the future. So once they, there's a certain, percentage of the town that doesn't have cable, then it reverts, then there's no contract needed.
So have you been
That
losing?
used to be the rule anyway. I'm not sure what it is now, but basically, people are gravitating towards the internet, so.
Is Verizon losing customers? I mean, I know for a while they were walking around daily looking for new customers.
Yeah, it hasn't been a material loss at this point. From my own observation, I think it's more generational. As I see it with my own kids, they're not as concerned about watching TV on appointment. They watch everything over the internet or on demand. So I see it kind of like the landline phone. Most of the younger people don't even have a landline phone, or they're going to all mobile, and
More trouble than they're
that's
worth.
the concern.
Yeah, my son is one of those that he doesn't have cable. Yeah.
Having worked in the business, in the 40 years that I worked, I went from a copper world into a fiber optic world, and I did work on the FiOS project. So I do know how rapidly things change, and I think it's Moore's Law, where every 18 months, everything doubles with computer capacity. What I've been reading in the Wall Street Journal and in Business Week, that even Verizon's looking at a different technology other than cable. And as you look at generational, you're exactly correct. Somebody who's a baby boomer does not use the web like someone who's a millennial. It is completely different. I remember going back just 25 years ago, and they were looking at the people in Japan and how the young people drove technology in Japan, and that came to the West Coast and came across America. So it sounds crazy, but that's where they looked. And they looked towards the east because they are, embraced technology way before the West did, and it swept across into America and in Western Europe. In Western Europe, they embraced cell phones way before we ever got into current technology. But I would say probably we're going to see in the next, I mean, FiOS has only been out for, what, 15 years, and the idea came down. I remember when it first came down, they talked about M&Ps, methods and procedures, and I said, we're only going to get the methods and procedures, says we're going to write them as we build it. So that's how rapidly technology is changing. What we're going to see in 5-10 years, we can only guess at. We can only see what the engineers and the dreamers, and when I say dreamers, the people at Google and Microsoft and all that, what they're looking at. So we're going to see a completely different world.
You mean now that I've gotten almost to a point where I can
You understand
conquer
that.
the spell check, it's gonna go away. Okay.
I mean,
that's
10
good.
years ago, we didn't have these.
I know.
Does the high def channel have any effect on the fees that customers pay, or it's
No.
totally free, so it's just included?
Yeah, and it really is, from the standpoint of the PEG people, it's a big issue. It's something that Comcast does not offer, so it does distinguish us in that regard. It is a feature, and we feel as though it's somewhat in compensation for going to the 5-year term.
People are going to see what we really look like.
No, that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Okay, we should open for public comment. Does anybody have a comment regarding the contract with Verizon? Bernie? Could you state your name?
Yes, Bernie Cullen, 283 Weathersfield Street, Raleigh. I guess I'm unclear as to what's at real issue here. I've been trying to cut the cord, but my wife is a laggard, I guess. The real issue is who controls the internet, right? I mean, if everybody's cutting the cord to go to the internet, then who controls the internet? My internet is still controlled by Verizon. So I don't know what's really going to change going forward and why we should, if we want more definitiveness going forward, why we would necessarily switch from a 10-year contract to a 5-year contract. The issue for me would be why do we only have 2 providers? Which is a separate
Well, I
issue.
think, Bernie, that's the issue is, in other words, when we started this 10 years ago, I was on the board. We debated when Comcast first came on board, and then when Verizon came on board, and there was only 2 ways to get internet coverage. And now, if you look around, the Wi-Fi is just everywhere. And my guess is that's where it's all going. And ultimately, and you may use Verizon, or you could switch over to Comcast, or you could go on to, I don't know what the other services are, but you could do it all over the Wi-Fi and not pay either one, so.
Well, but that's my question.
Well, I mean,
How
so
many other providers actually are there?
we don't know, because the internet is not controlled by anybody. So what's happening is the internet, anybody can get a system on the internet.
Well, look
and
at it,
start
Ken.
running it, so
Look-
it's beyond our control. Right, at this point, we still have control over 2, Verizon and Comcast, and basically what they're telling us is that within 5 or 10 years probably, and Janet seems to agree, it's going to be obsolete. So, but the numbers of places where you can go, it's up to individual consumers to look around if they want and make that determination where they'd like to go to get their internet service.
Just talking content-wise, just think that 10 years ago, did we ever hear of Hulu? Did we hear of Netflix? And, there's a vast, with the smart TVs, all you have to do is go on the smart TV now and look at what's, at the bottom of your screen. I don't know, it depends on what kind of smart TV that you have. But you can have all kinds of access to all kinds of content.
Well, before I think that, I don't have a degree in electrical engineering, but it's my understanding that we have Verizon and Comcast provide shows that we can watch on the TV channel. But when we have to go through a provider to hook into the internet. Where you go on the internet is open to an infinite variety of places, but you need to have that connection. That's the difference where you're looking at, Verizon is going to show a particular show at 8 o'clock, and that's all and that's what you're going to see. But where you go on the internet, you can go anywhere you want.
And
Mr.
if I may, this agreement only pertains to cable television.
Right.
The internet is provided, Verizon didn't have a cable TV franchise here. As a Title II company, they're in the public rights of way via that authority. They would be able to provide internet access through that. Comcast is in the public rights of way solely through your cable agreement with them, but they're able to provide the internet service because they're in the public rights of way. But it also emphasizes the importance of having two providers and having choice and competition in your community.
Right, right,
And they're providing content.
right, right. Anybody else with a comment? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you don't have to make a decision tonight. Again, there's no final draft before you, but it was important legally that you give the public an opportunity to hear and be heard.
Oh, Janet, did you want to make a comment, or you're all set? Okay. Just want to be sure. That, we depend a lot on Raleigh Community Media to provide a lot of information for to the town, and they do a good job at it.
I think, Mr. Chairman, it might be wise to just continue the hearing, because I'm sure people at home might have an interest that didn't realize that they could, very few people read the newspaper anymore.
That's the other problem.
Maybe we could just give, yeah, go ahead.
If I could just suggest, certainly the discussion will continue among the board, but my recommendation procedurally would be to close the public hearing.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll move we close the public hearing now.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 By roll call?
Well, we open by roll call, we should close by roll call.
Exactly.
Yes.
I, Robert Mary.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Perry.
I love it still.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
The public hearing is closed. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I forgot to email you.
Thanks for coming in, folks.
I got it. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet
Never
you.
met you before. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Tom, you're gonna stick around, right? Yes, please. Okay, going back into our agenda, old business number 4, to discuss the proposed landlord-tenant language for the Triton Regional Agreement. Chairman Perry has submitted the attached draft landlord-tenant language for insertion into the Triton Regional Agreement. Town Council Tom Mullen is reviewing the draft. He will provide comments to the Board of Selectmen on this agenda item during tonight's meeting. I just want to point out that I have been meeting with Superintendent Forget, Neil Harrington, Town Manager of Salisbury, Tracy Blaze from Newbury, and Larry, I can't think of his last name, on the Finance Committee from Newbury, to discuss the landlord-tenant section of the Triton Regional Agreement. And we've been discussing this at several meetings. We've been actually trying to do this for approximately 2 years, the various school committee meetings. And so we'll go from there. Tom?
Yeah, I've looked at the breakdown of what's set forth as town responsibility versus district responsibility. And I'd like to do a little work and get you something in the next week for your next meeting to refine this. I'm concerned that it's not sufficiently defined. For example, the town responsibility includes, quote, structural repairs, replacements, and updates, and building envelope, roof, windows, doors, exterior finishes, and mechanical systems. That sounds to me like it defines a whole building. I don't know what a building is if it's not in one of those categories. And then it says that we are responsible for major repairs, meaning upwards of $10,000, while the district would handle minor repairs under $10,000. But if we're responsible for everything that's structural or envelope or mechanical, then doesn't that mean that we're responsible even for things that are less than $10,000? I don't know. I don't know what the intent was here, but I think the way we should word it is to make it absolutely clear that, one, we are not responsible for minor, that is under $10,000 repair items, no matter where they occur. And I think we want to make sure that we don't give the district, not that they would take advantage of it, but we don't want to give them an incentive to act improperly. If this agreement says that they are responsible for routine monitoring and maintenance agreements. Well, if I'm responsible for routine maintenance, but I know that somebody else is responsible if the maintenance fails and there's a major problem, I don't have much incentive to do my maintenance obligations. So we have to somehow write this in such a way as to make clear that there are distinct maintenance responsibilities they have to meet. I'm thinking that we probably want to have the people who know about this from a technical standpoint write an exhibit of just what maintenance obligations have to be fulfilled by the district annually. Snow removal is dealt with here. I think we just want to make clear the division of responsibility, that we do the driveways in and the parking lots. We don't do anything else. We don't do the steps. We don't do the walkways. There are issues that come up that aren't mentioned here, like pest control. It's one Debbie brought up. It ought not to be the responsibility of the town. It's a district responsibility. This is a lot like the allocation of responsibility that you find in a kind of work I do a fair amount of, which is commercial leases. And when I represent a commercial lessor, I always say it's the lessee's responsibility to deal with replacement glass, because glass is like, it's like light bulbs. These things get broken all the time. And so I think while it's fair to say that with respect to building envelope, the town would be responsible for windows in the sense that if there's a major failure of the frame, okay, we'll deal with it. I would rather say that, I'd rather go on and say that mere replacement of glass is something that the district would be responsible for.
I would think that would fall into the under $10,000 category.
Right.
But I would further go, make the comment that we're making a major investment in the renovation of the school, and that we'd like to see it last, and we don't want to see it deteriorate as much as Pine Grove has in the condition that it's in right now. And so I think that our hope is that in doing this renovation, that it lasts for a sum of years, possibly 25 or more years, and that we'd like to see it maintained in a good condition.
I guess, I think Pine Grove's in good condition. It's just 25 years without any major renovations or updates in the systems. I'm not too concerned about that, certain things aren't being repaired on a daily basis. I guess the other issue I have is who makes the determination of, well, in this case, there's an issue with a window, who is the one who makes a determination whether it's a mere replacement of the glass versus replacement of the entire window casement or so? And that might be the wrong example, but in other words, the boiler's given, let's say that we're gonna have brand-new boilers, but let's say in 10 years, the boiler starts acting up. Who makes a determination whether we just repair the boiler or whether we get a brand-new boiler? As just an example, and that may not be a great one either, but in other words, who is the decider on between the town and if there's a disagreement, how does that get resolved?
Well, actually, it's a good example because, what was it, just 2 years ago, both boilers, there were 2 boilers in the school, and both boilers failed. And so we had to we didn't replace a boiler, but we made repairs. And it cost the town over $20,000.
Yeah, I mean, but it's important to, at some point on these kinds of things to decide who is the decider.
Right.
I'd like to see something in there on that, so that we don't end up having a rift. And most likely, it's gonna be a number of years down the road when we're all long gone, because of the new school situation that'll be there.
Hang on there, fella, I'm planning on sticking around till I'm 98.
Yeah, but you may not be on the board.
For the 400th anniversary
he'll still
of
be
the
chair.
town founding.
But no, I think Tom had some good suggestions.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I'd very much
yes.
like to see what you come up with, and I think we need to give the school some feedback on. And I'm sure the other towns are probably looking at the same thing, and they're coming up with suggestions probably too, so.
And I did give the superintendent a heads up that I had suggested the last week when we met that I would be bringing it to the board tonight, and that I would have our copy of the draft for tomorrow. And I did give Brian the heads up that we will have revisions that we are going to vote on hopefully next Monday night, and that I could provide that to them next week. Bernie?
Yes, I think the idea about drawing out an exhibit or an addenda that lists out actual activities that fall into the categories that we expect the school district to take care of, and then those which we would assume responsibility for, that seems to me to be actually a sine qua non, that we really do need that, because otherwise, that's more important than the actual dollar number. Because the dollar number, there will be games played, because who wants to pay for this? Which I think is Mr. Mullins' point, and I think it's therefore very important that we kind of code up what activities we do expect to be responsible for, and which ones we expect essentially the tenant to be responsible for. Anything that's wear and tear ought to be the tenant's responsibility. So if windows get broken, the windows don't break themselves. That's wear and tear, and that should fall to the school district, the region. Am I saying the same thing?
You are,
mentioned?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think from a historical point of view, I know in the number of years I've been on the board, I don't think we've ever had a real disagreement with the school committee over who's gonna, or the school administration, who's gonna pay for what. It's basically been, well, this is the problem, like the boiler, we replaced the motor. We did a few years ago, we did some repairs on the sidewalks and stuff over there, so it's been basically a gentleman's agreement. And it's just at this point, I think everybody is saying, well, maybe it's time to move on from that, particularly with the new school. But I mean, this is not the result of any animosity between the town and
No.
the school. This is strictly a procedural thing that really needs to be put down on paper. So I just want the public to realize that, there's not an issue here with the school system on repairs or anything. It's just,
Right.
it's always been pretty much an agreement. Yeah, this is yours and this is ours, and it's gone that way and worked out fairly well for the most part.
I know that, the electrical system is in very tough shape, and I know that the heating and air, well, we're not putting in full air, but a air-conditioned unit, and we're going to upgrade it to a code. We are putting in sprinkler systems under the new renovations. I know those are necessary upgrades, but when the state, we applied for a state reimbursement of 50% of certain costs, and the state has agreed. And when they came out to survey the building, they found that the building was well taken care of. And Pine Grove does, the district and the janitorial services there, the facilities manager, they all do a good job in maintaining that building. Okay, are we all set?
Hmm?
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See you
Tom.
again. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, new business number 1. We are asked to review the planning board application for a solar photovoltaic facility at 623 Weathersfield Street, filed by Rowley Solar, Inc. The planning board is holding its first public hearing on this application on Wednesday, December 13th. Does the board have any comments that they wish to send to the planning board on this application? I understand that the solar power has been installed at Country Gardens
Yes,
and is up and running.
right.
Do we have any comments on
Mr. Chairman, if I could let you know that the applicant on this planning board application stopped in the office today and indicated that they would like to make a informal presentation on what their plans are. And I did review the process in terms of any pilot agreement. Apparently this project is, and maybe one of the selectmen here is aware, is, I guess, a collaborative with the Rowley Municipal Lighting Plan. I'm not entirely sure about that. But they did ask if they could come in and make a presentation to the selectmen, and I suggested that the assessors sit in on that as well in a joint meeting. Just, I think it gets some informal information about what their plans are.
Well, the case of the other two facilities, there was a payment in lieu of taxes that the town approved, so I was wondering if they were gonna ask for the same thing, or?
I
just
did bring, yes, I brought that
Yeah.
up, and I asked if they would like a copy of the Brightergy agreement, and they
Right.
said they already had one of those agreements. We have 2 pilots with Brightergy, but they haven't provided anything. I think they just wanted to give an overview, and I think they seem to distinguish themselves a little bit differently because of their collaborative with Dan Folding and the Rowley Municipal Lighting Plan. That it was somewhat different, I'm not sure. But I just wanted to let you know that they would like to come in next Monday night to provide some type of general overview.
As a member of the light board, no comment.
The major issue in these types of applications, and we've had 2 of them before the planning board, but I think what it really comes down to, as far as the planning board is concerned, is whether the panels have been adequately screened from abutting residences. And that's the main thing I think the planning board will consider. And we are going to do a site visit at this facility, at this location within the next week or 2, and that's what we'll be looking at. So with that in mind, I don't know if we necessarily need to provide any comments to the planning board. I think they'll look at that on
Yeah,
their own.
looking at the drawings, the layout, it looks as though, at least on Weathersfield Street there, it's gonna be well out of sight.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on, was it Brook Street that
Right.
goes around, how that is.
It's hard to tell unless you actually go out there.
Yeah,
and
unless you
look
go
at
out and look at it, so, no, as far as I'm concerned, I have no
comment?
comment at this time.
Any comment?
No, we want to watch it fairly closely. It would be a good idea to have the assessors here, if they were going to have that meeting.
Very good.
Yeah, I think the financing is probably the issue that we're really interested in terms of what the pilot would be and what, you know, those kinds of issues that are concerned for the money for the town. Other than that, you have the other two, the one on Central Street looks, you know, you could just barely see it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very difficult. You have to really
I-
make an effort
And
to.
the windows
I-
are-
I've
winter
driven by
time,
it,
yeah.
I can't,
The wintertime now, it's probably a little more visible. Is
Right.
the other one up on Route 1 yet?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
even know if that's up there yet.
That's up.
I haven't seen that one
But
either.
I mean, it's, they're basically, if, as long as they're not out in the open, you
Right.
know, on a residential street, it's,
Right.
doesn't seem like a big problem. But they're everywhere now. You look around, people's got them
Yeah.
on their houses, and get on the Mass Turnpike, and half the off-ramps have
Huge.
solar arrays on every single ramp.
Solar arrays out
It's
there.
coming on strong, and I
Yeah.
think we should be part of the
Absolutely.
group that moves forward with these things. So-
Right.
Very good.
And there's no kids going to school on the property, so that helps us too.
Okay,
So
So we're not-
I do have one comment.
yes.
And again, I'm not sure whether this falls into your bailiwick or not, but just as with Verizon, where they pointed out that some of the funding that Verizon provides to the town is essentially a pass-through, which basically means each citizen pays for that.
Right.
And my research on alternative renewable energy sources indicates that the vast majority of the payments are also pass-throughs. In other words, the actual people who bear the costs of the innovation and and it's not the most efficient way of producing electricity, that falls on the ratepayers. And so I think we're beholden to kind of keep that in mind as we go forward. I mean, obviously, I don't know what the statutory authority is for the power authority, for the lighting company, but, you know, on the one thing, it's renewable sounds really good, and then when you take a hard look at the numbers, and the examples would be Germany and Denmark and South Australia, for example, where they're paying the highest rates for electricity in the developed world. And they're heavily into wind and solar. And so this is not a free lunch. And people really do need to understand that it's not a free lunch, and we could well be paying for it as we are paying for the wind turbines up in Vermont and New Hampshire, which do have an agreement with the Raleigh Municipal Light Company.
I think the bottom line is the consumer pays for everything. You know what I mean? You raise the real estate taxes, who pays for that? It's the consumer. You
Right,
pay-
but we've got
the gas-
choices.
The gas company is I think it's the gas company is now within the state looking for a rate hike for the transportation to gas. Well, they get their hike, who's gonna pay for that? The customer. I mean, the bottom line is,
Right, but
you and
it's-
I and all the other citizens provide the cost for everything. So it's just a matter of trading off.
But there are the alternatives. So the issue, for example, is hydroelectric power from Quebec costs dramatically less than.
Yeah, well, that's way beyond us.
No, that's what we use. I mean, that's where our power
No, I
comes from.
realize that, but I'm just saying, Bernie, that, you know, it's, the state laws that have so much renewable energy is required, and, you know, these are all things that are beyond us, and all we can do is say, what can we do what's best for the town? You know, we can write letters and do things like that, but I mean, they're all pass-through, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see anything that's not a pass-through when you come right down to it. So-
Okay, I'd like to get back on track. We're not going to make any report to the planning board. So we'll move on to liquor license renewals. Does anybody have a comment or a suggestion? I'd like to do all.
Mr. Chairman, are there prices available on these licenses? Do liquor stores and pouring establishments pay the same price? How much revenue is generated?
They're different if it's a full pouring license. It's
They're all,
approximately
there's only one fee set for that, isn't it?
No, it's different.
there are different
depending on the
fees
type.
depending on.
On premise and off premise, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay.
And there's pouring
Would
licenses
you like
versus
us,
a liquor.
Amy can recite that if you wish, Mr. Chairman?
On-premise all alcohol pouring is 1,520. On-premise wine and malt pouring, 850. Off-premise all alcohol retail package store, 1,000. Off-premise wine and malt retail package store, 800. Veterans Club license, all alcohol, 500.
So that's how the licenses break down into costs. Can we do it as a package, or does anybody have, want me to pull out anything that has to be voted separately, or?
I don't see anything
Mr.
here.
Chairman, if we could, we highlighted, Raleigh Veterans Association is not on there, and then the SCIPs, if it could just be contingent upon submittal of their payment on that light bill, we would hold that license until that's paid. Sometimes it's just a matter of the business making the payment and.
Okay. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve and sign the following licenses. Skins Incorporated, doing business as Spud's Restaurant, 255 Newburyport Turnpike. Raleigh Liquors, Inc., doing business as Raleigh Liquors, 144 Newburyport Turnpike. Raleigh Enterprises, Inc., doing business as Skip's Country Store, 801 Haverhill Street. Galbro, Inc., doing business as Route 1 Liquors, 174 Newburyport Turnpike. Nippon Magnin TJ Thai, Inc., doing business as Royal Orchard, 303B Haverhill Street. The Great American Barbecue, doing business as The American Barbecue, 5 Railroad Avenue. Pymar, Inc., doing business as Off the Vine, 150 Newburyport Turnpike. Brickle LLC, doing business as Bradford Tavern, 85 Haverhill Street. Cabales, Inc., doing business as El Tapatio, 300 Newburyport Turnpike. Easy LLC, doing business as Easy Variety, 300 Newburyport Turnpike, Unit 5. Grape Island, Inc., doing business as Mill River Winery, 498 Newburyport Turnpike.
Mr. Chairman, I'll give you a motion to approve the all with the exception of, or with the assumption that the Raleigh Enterprises DBA Skip's Country Store is contingent on payment of the light bill.
Is that the only one, Deb, that we did?
Yes, because the Raleigh Veterans Association isn't ready yet.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded with the condition attached. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The licenses will be available in the Selectmen's office for signature tomorrow afternoon. We have minutes from the November 29th and November 20th meetings of the Board of Selectmen. November 20th and 29th. November 20th was our regular Monday night meeting. November 29th was our meeting with the Lieutenant
It
Governor.
was the special meeting. Yes.
Right.
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chairman, on the November 20th meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the November 20th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Abstain.
Thank you. November 29th.
Give you a motion for that, Mr. Chairman?
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes for the Board of Selectmen meeting for November 29th. All those in favor say aye.
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 Or abstain. I wasn't there.
Mr. Murray?
I don't seem to have that copy.
I think you have to abstain.
I think we weren't there, Bob.
I wasn't here.
Okay.
Bob and I,
abstain.
yeah, well, both Bob and I were both abstaining.
Thank you. Okay. We have announcements. Friends of the Rowley Public Library 6th Annual Holiday Basket Raffle. The Friends are seeking donations of gift baskets of a retail value of at least $50, and raffle tickets will be sold at the library starting November 18th. The drawing will be held at 1 p.m. on December 16th. Information on the Pine Grove School project is available on the town's website at www.townofraleigh.net. The town has the following vacancies: Open Space Committee, 1 seat; Fence Viewer, 3 positions; Wood, Lumber, and Bark Inspector; Zoning Board of Appeals Associate, 3 seats; Parks and Recreation Committee, 1 seat; and Deputy Shellfish Constables, 2 positions. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectmen's office at 948-2372. The Raleigh Food Pantry is in need of donations. Donations can be left at the Raleigh Public Library. The food pantry is open on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and on Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Okay, we are going into an executive session to review the minutes from June 28, 2017. The executive session to discuss complaints against a town employee, general laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A-1. Review minutes from September 18, 2017, executive session to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with non-union personnel, water department superintendent pursuant to state open meeting law, general laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Section 2. Okay, Chairman Perry calls for a motion to go into an executive session for the purpose of reviewing executive session minutes from the June 28, 2017 executive session to discuss complaints against the town employee, general laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Section 1, and for the purpose of reviewing executive session minutes from the September 18, 2017 executive session to discuss strategies with respect to negotiations with non-union personnel, water department superintendent, pursuant to state open meeting laws, general laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, and to not return to open session. The selectman makes the motion.
I'll give you a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion has been made and seconded to go into executive session by roll call vote.
Aye, Robert Murray.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Perry.
By Rob Stock.
Hi, Dave Peterson.